So Connor, a lot of people see you, they see you working here on staff with us, they see your life unfold with your wife and all that, but they don't actually know the story of how you got here.
It's true.
And how we kind of started our friendship, and then after that has turned into a really cool relationship between us and then your relationship with this church. But do you remember how we first met?
Of course. I mean, I originally was from Oregon, so I came here about 5 years ago.
You're still from Oregon, by the way.
Oh, yeah, that's true. So I'm from Oregon. I came here about 5 years ago, ended up in Miami and found Metro, and came here for a couple weekends. And then Pastor Chris and I, we met outside on the patio area where he kind of just yelled from a distance, "Hey, man." And I didn't know who you were at the time, so I was like, "Hey," and we shook hands, talked for a minute, and you were like, "Your name's Connor, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm Connor." And he's like, "Where are you from?" And I told you, I was like, "I'm from Oregon." And you're like, "Connor from Oregon, great." You ended up asking if I wanted to get a coffee sometime so we could connect and talk.
And that was back when we had services on Wednesdays. You were
Exactly.
showing up, and I remember that. It was right under the tree over there.
Yep.
And I saw you, and I was like, Connor from Oregon. And then the
Yeah.
next week we went to coffee.
I went to coffee, and you forgot. So I got to the Starbucks, and I'm sitting there. And
The one right over there.
Yeah, it's right on the corner, right by the church. And I'm like, I think I'm at the right one. So I checked our texts. I was at the right one. So I sent a nice text message to passively remind you about our meeting. And I was like, "Hey, man, am I at the right Starbucks?" And you were like, "Yeah, I'll be right there. I was just in a meeting."
Said
Yeah.
that I was in a meeting
Yeah.
and got over there within a couple of seconds.
Yeah, you forgot about me.
That really did birth one of the most beneficial and amazing relationships I have, because I genuinely consider you a brother. I got the incredible honor and privilege of being the best man at your wedding. And honestly, now we're coworkers, feel like we'll be doing life and ministry together for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, I think it just shows the power of connection. I mean, I came all the way 3,300 miles from Oregon, and I knew a couple things when I came. I knew that if I was going to stay here, I needed to make good connections with good people. So I found a church, which was Metro, and I came here, and knowing that, I was like, man, I'm either going to connect with the right people here at Metro, or I'm going to be open up to this not so great opportunity and connect with probably the wrong people in college. So having that understanding, I was intentional. I was like, man, I need to connect with the right people. So when we ended up going to coffee and I was greeted by everybody and their brother here at Metro, I felt so welcomed that once we had that coffee and we started to connect on that deep friend level, I was like, man, this could be home.
And you said you were intentional about it, and a lot of people might not know that when you originally came, you technically moved an hour north and literally drove an hour to church every day.
Yeah, so the funny thing is I was living in North Miami at the time, so for some it's far, for others it may not be, but it on Sundays was only about a 25-minute drive. So when I looked it up on Saturday night, when I was looking at churches for Saturday night, I was like, churches near me. And I think God thought it was funny to put Metro as like the first two I saw on Google, because it was nowhere near me, not on a weekday. So when I started coming on Wednesdays, it was taking me an hour and a half until I could find a good route I got it down to like 45 minutes to an hour. But yeah, I was living all the way in North Miami, and I made the drive, but I loved every minute of that.
Yeah. And it was really cool because you came to Miami with a priority for school and golf, and your relationships at this church and what you found here switched your priorities really quick, because you not only went from like a guy, Connor from Oregon, just walking into the church that we all joked and said was from Canada.
Yeah.
And we constantly told everyone it was your birthday every single week. We said, "Hey, go tell Connor, happy birthday, it's his birthday." But you went from just a guy who was a part of the community to then a part of the team. And then you stepped up and you interned here. Mm-hmm. And during that season, it was like your priorities around life and even being in the city changed.
Yeah, and I could only attest that to pure relationships that were formed here at Metro through you, some other good friends that I made here, and it was just the encouragement of having people in ministry around me, showing me the way, and just allowing me to be opened up to that opportunity and that ability to see ministry in a new way, and found that it was a really awesome opportunity for me to grow, not only in God, but to grow in my gifts and talents.
And then after that internship, after you see like what you can do to be a part of the church in an even deeper way, just the way it happened to work was we needed that gift. We needed what you brought more and more, and that turned into a part-time and eventually a full-time job. And then you made the most important connection after that, with the most important relationship of your life.
Yeah, I had been here, and I had been here. It'd been years, and my wife at the time, she had been here too, but we never really talked. Ended up at one point we were like, hey, let's talk. We talked and ended up getting married, and I met my wife here at Metro, and it's been amazing.
Now, a lot of people would look at your story and say, oh, Connor came in and liked people, and he liked to talk, and I like to sit alone, or I kind of want people to address me. But that wasn't, you might be more like that, but you still had to push past that kind of introvert mentality, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. And like I said a little earlier, is like I had to be intentional about connecting, and I knew that, but that's not my strength. I'm totally fine with being the only one sitting alone. I'm okay with going back to my dorm room and just hanging by myself. And I always found that to energize me, but I had to step out of my comfort zone. And I had to be intentional about making the connections and making new relationships, because like I said, I knew I needed to make those relationships be impactful, or else I was gonna connect with the wrong people, and I did not want that.
Well, the cool thing is you connected with me, who was like the youth pastor. You got connected to the pastoral family quickly, but you didn't stop there. You didn't make some friends and then feel like I don't need to connect with anyone anymore. You got into a connect group with a group of people that weren't even that your friends really at church, because you knew you needed that level of connection. And so you're really a solid picture of what happens when you do get grounded in a church and planted. You listen to, get in a connect group, and you do it even though you already have friends. You basically became a son of the house. And your life is a product of that. So with anybody watching, whether they're older than us and they feel like connecting's kind of already past them, or maybe they have kids that are kind of like us or even younger, what would you say to the people that are having a hard time connecting?
Man, it's all about relationships. And the fact that we here at Metro put such an emphasis on relationships, I think it's such a great thing.
Yeah, and I think doing life outside of godly relationship, I feel it's just a life that's out of balance. And that's actually the word I always describe. When people ask about you, I always say, my buddy brings balance to me. Because you and I we're so gifted in different areas that we really do bring balance. And that's what good relationships, a good connect group, that's what good connections do for people. They bring balance, multiple perspectives. And I know this, I'm thankful for that interaction in the lobby. I'm thankful that we have a funny enough story where I forgot you with coffee. I'm glad it happened that way, because I was your best man at your wedding, and you're definitely one of my best friends. And I'm really thankful for that, and I owe this church a great friendship of mine. So thanks for doing this video. Man.